Hello and welcome to the Music Survival Guide, the independent musician's guide on how to survive in the music industry. My name's Phil, a mixing and mastering engineer. Well, I hope you enjoyed part one of the interview with Luke and Leigh, the bassist and drummer of Circus 66. If you missed it, then please do listen to the first part before you carry on with this, the second part of the interview, because it makes sense for the flow of the conversation to go from one to the other. Anyway, this week I'm going to go straight in and we're going to carry on the conversation by discussing songwriting. Moving over to, I guess, another kind of element of the band, how do you go about writing songs together? What's your process for that?
I think it really depends on where the ideas come from. There's certainly no shortage of creativity from anyone in this band. There are times when, I'll receive a WhatsApp message or something on my phone from Leigh or from Matt, or, something will come through and it will be a riff, a lick, an idea, this could be cool. We could work on this. And we've actually, we've been bouncing new ideas around lately to start forming what we hope will be either a second album or, end up on an EP or something like that. It usually starts with one of us having an idea. I think with Follow the Black Crow, some of the ideas were halfway there, I would say, between what Matt and Annabelle had kind of put together, but they needed the finishing touches. They needed, solid drums and bass and a bit of flair in places. And we wrote most of that album together in a room. We would kind of work out our parts at home, come in, try things out, throw different things around. And it's a really I think it's quite a cathartic process because you have no expectations of what it's going to be. We never try to sound like anybody, and we never set out to write a song to sound a particular way. It's just a very organic process where things come together. Sometimes they don't click straight away. There are some songs that took us a couple of weeks, couple of months. Some songs we've had to park and come back to finish them, and some songs that didn't make the cut for the album. So I'd say it's quite free flowing. There's lots of ideas, lots of energy, lots of that sounds like something I can work with. Okay, let's do this, let's do that. Maybe we move change the chorus because that sounds a bit more like a midsection, and let's try this other riff. So it's quite. There's no set process to answer your question. It's very free flowing, very creative, and very collaborative. And I think that is the reason why we've reached the kind of sounds that you're hearing now on Follow the Black Crow.
Yeah, and I echo that as well. What you hear is very organic. The way we write stuff is either a start of a riff or a guitar idea, a bass twang or whatnot, even sometimes some vocal melodies, and we just go for it. The way we wrote Follow the Black Crow, it was intended to be a 12-track. We've recorded 2 other songs that didn't make the cut on the album. But yeah, let's stress that as well as it being so organic, we do, as Mustard said, we park stuff. We put it on the back seat and we come back to it. It doesn't mean it's a bad song. It's just not ready yet. It just needs either something else or not. It's a fighting cause sometimes, but we would always only want to release an album where we're all 100% happy on every single track. So that's why we cut it down to 10 tracks, and it works as a 10-track album. It's still 50 odd minutes long because we got a 9-minute song on there. So no one's going to be disappointed with that, and hold out for the future because there's more stuff coming.
Oh yeah, and actually, just to add a bit of color to it, right? There's I'm sure Matt, if Matt were here, he would tell you that there are some riffs that I think it was a particular lick he's got in Jekyll or Hyde, where it came to him walking around home base one day, and he heard a jingle and kind of went, "Oh, I could do something. That's given me an idea. I can do something with that." And he went home and came up with a guitar riff. So it's just, I think anyone creative will know if you try and force it, it doesn't work. You have to just let it happen, let it develop. If there's any kind of structure, I would say we generally get the music and the arrangements and the composition down first when we're creating something. And then the vocals, there's Annabelle's always there. She's always listening and writing and jotting down, looking at her lyric book and working out, some melodies that can work there. And the vocals generally come after the fact. And then once we've got the vocal arrangement in place, then it's harmonies time, it's backing vocals time. And then we work through composing what we think is going to work best to support her main vocals.
Yeah, and I play guitar. I write lyrics as well. We've all had a bit of an input on some of the lyrics throughout the album. Most of it does come from Annabelle or Matt, but yeah, we've certainly given our tuppence where it comes there. I mean, for me, we've got the tools these days. Being in 2021, I use WhatsApp. We've got a band WhatsApp, but I'll often just hum a tune that's come to me and just be like, "Can you play that on guitar, Matthew?" And normally he'd come back and just be like, "What, a bit like this?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, that's going to work as a really nice bridge." But honestly, often I will wake up in the middle of the night and hum something into my phone. It's actually how I thought of my my cat's name. I had a weird dream, and this name Pushkin came into my head. So I named my cat Pushkin, and I had to Google it afterwards. It turned out it's some really old Russian poet, weirdly. There you go, bit of trivia for you.
Fair enough. Do you find that with some of your songs that maybe don't make the cut or aren't quite finished, that sometimes you find you end up cannibalizing bits of songs to bolt into other songs because you go, well, maybe this chorus doesn't work, but it could work in this other song, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think me and Mustard might disagree, but I think we do sometimes, yeah, try and chop things up from other riffs or other songs that we've written and try and piece them together. Doesn't always work. Sometimes it does, but we quite like to work on a song structure where it's not verse, chorus, verse, bridge. The standard thing that you normally do. And I think when it comes to album number two, it will probably be more dominant. The fact that we're not doing a standard song structure. If you come to one of our rehearsals, one of them that we've just done, for instance, I'm afraid you weren't there on the last one, but we may have rewritten your song, Mustard. I'm telling you here.
I've seen it. I've seen the footage.
but
It's
but
all good.
but honestly, yeah, honestly, the structuring of a song is quite important for us, and we don't like predictability. So I think on the new stuff that's coming, there's going to be a little bit more of that for sure.
There's I don't. It's individual. It's individual taste, and yeah, we do chop stuff up. It's naturally there are parts that we've got that didn't make the record, and we're kind of thinking, I really like that part. I want to use it. Where are we going to use it? What can we do with it? But it's never forced. It's more a case of what would work really well there. Remember that thing we wrote over there? Let's pull that in and try that. So it's just we experiment with things. And as Leigh mentioned, whatever we do for album or record number two, whatever it ends up being, as I say, we've already started writing songs. I am absolutely terrible at writing a whole song. I can't do it on my own. So what I do is I come up with parts and I go, guys, I've got this and I've got this, and maybe I've got a midsection. I don't really know how to fill in the gaps. I don't know how you want to structure it. Do you like it? You're going to tell me it's rubbish. What's the situation? And yeah, as a small victory for me, the last couple of parts I came up with are starting to shape up into a song. So I'm not precious about these guys changing it up, right?
That's what being in a band's about, though. I think you've hit the nail on the head there, mate. Like I came to the group with some lyrics I'd written, and I was exactly the same. I was like, I've written some lyrics, but I don't know how to do vocal melodies. I don't know which bit would be the chorus or anything like that. At the moment, they're just words on a page, and that's where I used some of the other musicians that are in the band. They just said, "Help me out. I think I'm onto something, but." It's not good enough to be a song, and we utilize that and we use each other for things. We're starting to learn each other's strengths a bit more.
Do you think eventually you'll settle into more of I don't want to say a system, but a kind of a structured way of approaching songwriting, or do you think it's going to remain a bit kind of here, there, and everywhere, depending on who's giving the idea and where it's coming from and things like that?
I think it will be a bit sporadic as the way it is now, but I think that's the fun way of doing things. When it comes to stuff like recording, we're structured there, and I think we're going to probably continue that process of how we lay down a track and how we want to, bring it to life. But when it comes to actually writing the songs, let's keep it sporadic and fun.
I think that's what shapes the sound of this band, right? I think that's a large part of the enjoyment we get. For the live shows give us immense amount of joy when we're able to do them. But where we've not been able to do them, we've focused wholly on recording, right? And just making sure we can add the finishing touches to the album that we've since released. We're quite lucky in that, the only thing we have to go into the studio for really is recording the drums, because we want a live drum sound, not a sampled set of drums. You can't capture the same feel. You can't capture the essence of Leigh as a musician if you don't record him in the studio. So we do that, and then we structure. Myself and Matt and a number of us can record at home. We've got our own little studio setups. So we get an outline track together, then we get together collectively and we mix, we play around with things, we produce ourselves, and then when we agree that the final raw mix is there and it's about ready for mastering,
we'll scrap the whole thing and start again. We've certainly done that. Sorry, had to see that.
Yeah, we have done that. We've decided we love it and then we hate it.
Yes.
Curse of every musician and producer on the planet. You're always striving for something that you can never quite fully realize. And yeah, we've got to that point where we've recorded something, to Leigh's point, right the way to the point where we're ready to send it to mastering, and we've gone, actually, I absolutely hate this song. I think we could do more with this.
Gutted.
And as soon as one person is brave enough to go, I hate this, I don't like it, everybody else goes, actually, now that you've said it, I can't unhear it. You're absolutely right. Let's rewrite it.
There goes £500 down the drain on drum tracking.
But it's a pursuit, right? It's the pursuit of putting the best record out that we can. Every musician wants to put the best record out. And I think one of the things that struck me about the music industry lately, I think for a long time, nobody was trying to write the best record. It was just very samey. And what I've seen more recently from a lot of the upcoming bands is that people seem to be hungry again. Musicians are starting to want to write the world's best record, right? If you think back to the Beatles and the Who and Led Zeppelin, and lots of different, an eclectic mix of styles there, but you had this real passion and drive to write the best song ever. And I think that's starting to come back again. I think there's a real resurgence in the industry for that. And we're not trying to write the best song ever, but we're trying to write the best Circus 66 track that we possibly can. So we don't compromise. If one of us is unhappy with something, we're going to try something else. We're going to rewrite it. We're going to adjust things, and it works. So for us to go back to your original question, Phil, for us to fundamentally change how we do things, it will fundamentally change how this band sounds, and none of us want to do that.
I guess at the end of the day, the last thing any of you want to do is to get to the point of releasing a track, put it out there, and then have a band member go, I don't really like it. And even then, if it somehow went on to be very, it got renowned, it became really well known, and you were expected to play it at every gig, it would just feel worse for you as a musician if you were like, I just don't like this song. So yeah, it's very worth checking that you like what you're doing all the way along the process.
I think you're referencing Guns N' Roses, maybe. Yeah, Sweet Child of Mine.
Any number of bands.
Sweet Child of Mine. I think Matt always says that Slash absolutely hates playing Sweet Child of Mine. I mean, I don't know Slash very well personally, but I'm sure, 1,000 times playing the same old riff that you might not have enjoyed that much when you wrote it. But But yeah, that's always going to be a risk, though, isn't it, mate? I mean, you put something out, people love it, and then you end up hating it. I mean, something that I've been told throughout my whole career is don't overanalyze, don't over listen to your own material. Do what you do best, give it your all. Just don't play your own CD over and over again. I'm sure that's what you've been doing, innit, Mustard? He doesn't even have a CD player, to be fair.
I don't have a CD player. I'm an online guy, but yeah, I grew to not want to listen to any of our tracks at one point through the recording process because I don't think my ears or brain could take it. Just listening to after I'm sure you know what this is like, Phil. When you're listening very very carefully with analytical ears or critical ears to a mix or a track or something that you're waiting, you're looking for something, you're looking for perfection. You've got you've got an idea in your head of what it should sound like, and you're trying to cover that gap between what it should sound like in your head and what the mastering engineer has sent you. And you're making copious notes. Well, I did anyway. I'm a detailed guy, and I made copious notes on things I wanted to change in that whole process. The net result is I was so buried uh, in the process with the rest of these guys recording and mastering and listening back to what we were going to put on the record. I ended up sick of our own music and I needed a little break. Playing it live, absolutely love it. Feed off the energy of the crowd. That's what it's all about for me. But yeah, listening to our own stuff, once you've been through the mill with it, you just want to play it live. You don't want to listen to it again.
It's something that someone once asked me actually on Instagram when I was asking for questions. Someone said, how long after working on a track can you bear to listen to it again? And I said, well, probably about 6 months. There's a few tracks that I worked on that I was like, when I started, I was like, this is amazing. By the time I was done with it, I was like, I can just hear everything I've done wrong that I want to get better. And you just have to let it go. And then you listen back in 6 months' time and you just forget all the analytical process of it. And you just go, actually, no, it's really good. So, yes, a break can be very helpful. When it comes to management of the band, how does that work? Is there a single point person, or do you share out the jobs between you? How's that go?
Yeah, it's a shared process. We've recently joined up with Forge, the Forge music group. So Forge manage us, or we sit under Forge. As I said, it's a very new thing, but other than that, other than there being a strong totem pole for us, we are pretty self-sufficient when it comes to things. We do our own social media. We may not be very good at it, but we give it a go because we're all old now, so we don't really understand how half of it works. But is what it is. Keep up with the kids. Just recently joined TikTok. What? But yeah, and then when it comes to everything, we sort of divvy up the jobs. We've tried to do it in one of Mustard's organized ways with his charts. He's got a little whiteboard that he gets out sometimes and draws lines and saying, "This is where we are. This is where we got to get to. Who's going to take a responsibility for what?" Yeah, so that's part of it. I was a media student in college as well, so I do a lot of the promotional tools, posters, and things like that. I don't know if you've seen the latest tour poster, but I design that. Rather than outsourcing work, we keep it in house. If there's something that I can't do technically, or I don't have the right programs, then we jump onto our management, who've got a whole network of people they can reach out to and help us along the way. But yeah, I think it's pretty even Stevens when it comes to work in the band, other than Mustard. He doesn't do anything really other than show up sometimes. But I have to ridicule the bass player on behalf of Matthew because he's not here.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, as I pretty much agree with all of that. It's play into each other's strengths, right? Leigh's highly creative. He's got a keen eye, and it's really a case of Leigh's creative. I'm quite technology minded. I know my way around tech. I might live to regret those words, but I'm quite technical. And Matt isn't. Matt is musically minded, isn't technology minded, but he is a trained producer. So that gives us a different angle. none of us are really strong with social media, so that's a learning process for us. And obviously using the guys in Forge back at the label are it's brilliant. We use them for advice and guidance. They help us out. We've had some coaching on various things like media training, things like this, making sure that we come across in the right way. I'm probably failing miserably, and I probably need a refresher course, but that's just me. So yeah, we play to each other's strengths, and it is a learning process. I'm not afraid to say, I'm in the middle of trying to redesign with help. We have got someone external who can do this stuff with help, trying to redesign the website, trying to have a single place that fans, promoters, agents, bookers, anyone that wants to know anything about us has got a really slick, nice looking website they can go to, and they've got all the media, they've got all the videos. We exist in many places on the deep dark interweb, but finding it is another matter. So we want to make sure that we put it front and center and have everything there for people to see. So it's really, I think of this as a small business, right? This is us. This is our this is our small business. It's our collective baby now. It started as a bit of a pet project, and it's grown into something that I think we're all deeply passionate about. Clearly, we don't do it for the money because we don't really make any money out of this band. But hopefully, we have an aspiration that we can get it to a stage where it at least breaks even. Um, that's going to enable us to do more, right? It's going to enable us to keep bringing out cool new music for people to listen to.
You say we don't make any money, but we all get paid, mate. Do you not get paid?
What? Money?
He's working for free, bless him. Yeah, and stuff like as well, like Annabelle does a lot of the networking as well. It really helps bring people together, and that for me is probably the biggest chunk of everything. Networking, finding out who does what, because the old saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know, is pretty damn apparent in the music industry. It's all about who you know. It's not about what you know. It is about what you sound like, but also it's who you know too. So build them connections as well. I say, make sure you build them connections and stay humble.
Ain't got no time for egos.
It's all very good advice. I think you're right, especially about the website, that having a good website as a band just cannot be underestimated. It's your space where you can really say who you are as a band, as opposed to somewhere like Facebook and Instagram, where you have to comply to their rules and their visual formatting and things like that. It's very much your space where you can make it look however you want, which really can't be underestimated, I think. So, what would you say, and you may have different answers to this, what would you say has been the biggest success of the band so far?
It hasn't happened yet. What's your biggest success? What's our biggest success? What is
Like
it?
maybe it was like a moment where you went, "This is amazing."
For me, BBC Live Lounge. And that was even before the album and the things we've achieved since. I think standing in the BBC Live Lounge, live on air, with however many thousands of listeners out there hearing what we do live, and then the interview afterwards. That for me, that's where it changed from being a bit of fun to something it was just visceral and real, and wow, felt like something was happening and we were going somewhere. That for me was a real turning point personally. Um, Something I'll never forget.
Yeah, and I'm pretty serious when I say it hasn't happened yet. I know it sounds funny and all that, but we are very much striving for the top. We want what we want, and that's to be as big as we can. I think that's what a lot of bands, enjoy doing. As long as you enjoy doing what you're doing, there's no harm in going for the big goals, the big gigs, and things like that, and bringing yourself to be the best you can be. I mean, we even write that into our lyrics. So yeah, aim for the top, be what you can be, keep going forward.
Well, speaking of goals, my last question relates directly to that. So, what would you say are the goals for the band in the next 6 months to a year or so?
So in the next 6 months, it's probably going to be heavily focused on touring. We've announced a tour, so that pretty much takes up the rest of this year. I think there's still a few shows that are going to be announced as well. We are currently in the process of writing and recording. Recording is coming up at some point. It's not quite in the calendar yet, but we're making connections to lay a few riffs and drums down, things like that. So that's probably our immediate focus. Tour the album, build bigger connections, keep doing what we're doing, get some of the second album or EP or whatever we're doing next recorded, keep the wheel turning. And then I think longer term plans, I don't know. We haven't really discussed much further than that. I mean, there's always going to be a 5-year plan. There's stuff like bigger festivals that we want to do that we haven't had the opportunity to play yet. Planet Rockstock, Call of the Wild, things like that are on our radar. It's just about getting the right material in front of the right people. As I said before, it's who you know, and that's important. But also, what can you do as an artist? And hopefully, some of the new stuff that we've done, like the KKs footage, for instance, we've got this now. It's part of our EPK. It's our press kit. A lot of that's going to feature on the new website. We can send to punters and bookers and say, here you go, this is us. What do you think? Do you want to book us? Please book us. Please book us.
Yeah. And from the business end of it, I think it's about building a fan base, getting what we do out there, building a fan base, and getting. We've got to earn the right to go and be able to play those bigger festivals and be able to, sell more records, to be able to, have conversations like this with various different folks across the industry. We always, every day, have to prove ourselves and keep earning that right. And like Leigh said, we want to get some new stuff out there, right? We've just released the album. We're going to be heavily touring this year. That off the back of that, and we're going to be working towards bringing something else. Because obviously, in this industry, you can very easily have your 5 minutes of fame and then be forgotten about. You've got to be consistent. You've got to be constantly releasing music. So we're riding a creative wave at the moment. We've got loads of ideas floating around. Leigh talked about my little whiteboard. I'm looking at it now, and I've got roughly 7 or 8 songs mapped out that we've all collectively worked on. We don't know if that's going to be an EP. We don't know if it's going to be an album. We don't know if we're going to drop some singles just to keep people kind of focused on what we're doing and what we're about. We've got stories to tell. We've got messages we want to kind of put out there, and we want to do it with music. So yeah, when we're not touring, we're going to be working on figuring out how that all comes together and what that's going to be.
Yeah, and I think to add to that point as well, it's important to keep going and keep that wheel turning. Getting back into the studio, a lot of people probably don't realize, but it does take a long time to get the songs you want on the album, to record it and do all that fun stuff. And we're going to take some of the knowledge that we've gained from each other as musicians and knowledge in the studio. So, fun bit of trivia for you, like on the last track on Follow the Black Crow, the track called When the Black Crow Flies, we removed the click track from the last half of the song because we wanted to capture the live raw energy of how the end of the song was supposed to be. So it's all out of time, but it's not out of time, but it's supposed to try and capture the live essence of it and the whole vibe which we were aiming for. So hints and tips like that, I think, is going to keep things exciting for us, because it's not the norm. It's a bit different. It's a bit quirky. It's a bit fun, and that's what we ultimately want to do: have fun and push forward.
I mean, I've got to say, it's got to be good as a band to say yes, gigs are happening, they're coming. That must be amazing to have that in your plan and know it's actually happening rather than it being a vague hope.
Exactly right. Yeah, 100%. We got some great shows booked up as well with some really good friends and some new cities and things we're going to be playing. So it's doubly exciting for us.
Yeah, the first leg of the tour is looking better. This is worth mentioning, actually, that what you've seen on the tour poster, that's the first leg. That's barely the first half of what we're planning to do touring wise. So really glad that we're able to get out there and do that. It's a privilege to be able to play music and have that connection with people, right? And it's something that should never be taken for granted. I think if anything from the past year, it's taught us that it is a special thing, and we can't ever take it for granted. And I think that The reality of it is that there is a level of uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, so we're just going to damn well make the most of it, right? We're going to get out there, give everything we've got, and hopefully meet some new people along the way.
And everybody that said they miss live music and they want to get back out there, they can't wait for it to all open again. Buy your tickets in advance, support your local venues, support your local artists, go out, have fun, bring it on. Let's go.
I said that was my last question. I've got one tiny question and then my actual final question. So my tiny question is, if people want to catch you playing live and want to buy some tickets, or if they want to buy your album, things like that, where's the best place for them to go on the internet?
There's a few different places, so I think probably the easiest thing to do these days is just message us direct, and we'll send you the link. A lot of the tour shows are split up over different promoters, and they use different ticket links. So we could just, if you fancy something off the tour poster, send us a quick message, and yeah, we'll fire the ticket link.
I will put a link to social media bits and pieces in the show notes of this podcast. So click down there. I don't know why I'm pointing down. Click wherever the show notes are on your podcast player, and you will find that there. My actual final question, to close out the podcast, I'd like to ask what your, and you maybe have different ones, there's maybe a bit of a debate, what your favourite song from the band is, which I can play at the end of this episode. So which song is it and why?
You do. So we've been asked this question a lot with various things, right? Podcast interviews and things like that. For me, for very different reasons to what I suspect Leigh will tell you, it is my favorite song on the album is without question "When the Black Crow Flies," and the reason behind that is a good friend of mine sadly lost his life as we were finalizing, writing and preparing this track. And his story, he'd battled with cancer for many years. I know the family well. They're good friends of mine. It's a young lad who had cancer at 12, thought he'd beat it, but had various struggles with the lasting effects of the chemotherapy. And then the cancer came back, and he took a decision to not take any treatment when it came back because of the he was already in pain, living life as it was. For the cancer to come back and knowing what that would entail, I mean, horrific. But it was also an incredibly brave decision from an incredibly brave boy, and had a wicked sense of humor all the way through. So for me, the lyrics resonated every time I play it live. Every time I hear it, I think of Danny. The guy's name was Danny Van Shake. If anyone is listening, anyone from the family, Danny Van Shake, the guy was a legend and someone very dear to my heart. And for me, that song's about him. That song's about his journey. It's about his release from all of that pain and that suffering, and the weight of making a decision about your own life and your own care. That to me is deeply emotional and something that really, that's what the song does for me. It makes me think of that whole journey and that freedom he has now.
Yeah, and you're right. It is a song I would pick as well. When I mentioned earlier in the podcast about writing some lyrics, this is the one I was on about, and I put pen to paper. I wrote the song about not Mustard's friend, but a close family member of mine who sadly passed away as well. But for this, I'll pick a different song and a different reason, just to make it a bit more interesting, and I find it quite hard to talk about anyway. So I would probably pick Light the Fuse. So Light the Fuse is one of the songs that we mentioned earlier that we've reworked a few times. When the initial idea came for the song, it was good. It wasn't excellent. That's not like putting the song down at all. It just, every song on the album was killer so far, so it needed to be better. So we took the song back into the studio after it was mixed and mastered and all that, undone everything that we did, and rejigged a load of different parts to it and made it what it is today. It's got a massive drum intro, so that's probably why I like it a lot as well. This song is a lot harsher than it was. We've doubled up the guitars in odd places where they wouldn't normally be doubled up, and that's to emphasize certain parts. The whole riff at the start of it, before any of the lyrics comes in, it really gets me. It's an intricate guitar riff. It's a play on loads of different influences through Matt's life, and for me, yeah, it just kicks some ass. It's got a beautiful middle section, and it's something that I'm pretty proud of.
And it's got some killer triplets.
It does.
Some of those opening licks are, wow, mind-blowing.
So, guys, thanks for talking.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, Phil. It's been an honor.